Hi, we are Engineering Brothers. In our previous part, we have described our much needed consideration for our natural part of our response in our stability consideration or stability concepts over there. And we have already given you the much needed concept over there because we cannot control the this part or the force part of our output response over here, but we can utilize the natural part of our output response and the total output response over here. We can do alter or change these two parts to have the stability concepts that are absolutely important for our present consideration over here. And quite naturally you can do see that we are having our two part of our response considered part over here, and the first one is our CT forced and another one is our natural response for our given considered part. And quite naturally we cannot separate these two part for our given considered point over here. Now in this case we are having our two output consideration over here and we are trying to focus on our vivo concepts over here. But before I would like to start over there, I have already given you what is the relation between our natural response along with our stability over there, or how do you define the stability concepts in this present consideration over here. Now in this case we can say that the output response do have the two parts over there or consist of two parts. The first one is quite naturally our the forced part for our output response and the natural part of our output response over here, and this is quite dependent on our input for this given considered part over here, and we have already given you that the overall response is directly dependent on this natural part over here, but we cannot separately consider these two individual parts over there. Now in this case if you are having the if you do apply the input and that input is quite naturally our bounded, if we do apply the bounded input in any given system, and if you are having this as your output over here, which is quite naturally the bounded output over here, and we can do realize that the quite naturally here the area is our finite area. We are having our area that is quite naturally finite. We are having area value under this curve over here, and the area under this curve actually do have or do give us the finite value in this case. That is why we can say that we are having our bounded output over here. Now if you do apply the bounded input in any given system, and if you are having this as our bounded output over here, which actually give us the finite area in this case, now we can say that the system is quite naturally our stable. Okay, why? Because as we are having our much needed considered part over here, as we are having our finite area in this case, we can say that the system is stable if you do apply the bounded input in this case, and we are having the bounded output and the area under this curve is our finite one, and we can define the area over there. We can say that the system is stable. Now once again if you just do apply our much needed consideration, which is another consideration, which is unbounded input over here. If we do apply the unbounded input in any given system, then we are having this as a waveform over here, which is quite naturally here you can say that the area is not definable. We cannot define this area over there, and the area is, I can say that the area is infinite. infinite area, and because of this infinite nature of this given output waveform, in this case we can say that the output is unbounded, or we cannot define, or we cannot establish the definition or establish the value of this output over here. And as we are applying the unbounded input, we are having our unbounded output over there. Now this is the concept of our BIVO analysis or BIVO stability over here. What is the BIVO? The BIVO is boundary input, boundary output. This is the definition of our BIVO stability. What is the full form of our BIVO? Bounded input, bounded output. If you do apply the bounded input, we are specifically having our bounded output over here, and because of that considered part, or because of that simple definition, we are having a finite area in this case, and we can say that the system is stable. And in the another case, if you do apply the bounded input over here, and we are the unbounded input over here, and we are having our unbounded output. Why do I consider the unbounded output? Because as we cannot having our area or the area value is not definable, we cannot define the area over here, we can say that in this case we are having our infinite area over here. Because of that considered unbounded nature of our output response, we can say that this system is not stable, or in the case we can say that the system is unstable. Okay, but there are some another conclusions that is very important over here. First of all, if you do apply the bounded input in both the cases over here, but still we are having our the infinite area output waveform over there, then we cannot exactly define that because of this natural response over here or the forced response over here, which one is more suitable to establish the stability consideration or stability steps over here. I want to repeat this portion once again. As we cannot separately define this forced response and the natural response in this case, there are some cases over there. If you do apply the bounded input, you still having the unbounded output over there. For that one, we cannot define the stability concepts over there. So there are some exceptional parts or the exceptions over there that you do require to follow over here. But this is the basic consideration of our BIVO stability over here. If the output of our given response do have the finite area, then we can say that the system is stable. And for that one, we do require to apply the bounded input over here. And if you do have the bounded output in this case, and quite specifically the output of our given response do have some finite area over here, we can say that the system is stable. In the next considered part, if you do apply the unbounded input, and we are having our output that is being considered as this one, and we cannot define the area under this curve over here because the area tends to infinity, it is going in or it is expanding in this way. Because of that, we can say that in this case we are having our infinite area over here, we cannot define the area under this curve over here, and quite naturally we can say that the output is unbounded output, and we can say that, or we can conclude that the system is unstable. And these two different cases are actually given us the considered part or consideration of our BIVO stability over here. But in the exceptional part or in the exception case, we can say that we are applying the bounded input, but still we are having our infinite area for our output region or for our output response over there. Then we cannot say that what is the stability for that given system. Why? Because we don't understand the natural part of our response over here, because we cannot separately define or divide or differentiate these two output response factors over there. So there are some exception steps over there. So this is the basic consideration for a Vivo stability over here, and you should understand the much needed concepts over here. I hope you have totally understood up to this one. If you still have any doubts, please let us know in the comment section for better understanding. Do like, do share our videos, and keep following our channel. Just wait for my next part. Thank you and goodbye. If you like my video, so what are you waiting for? Please do subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon for more updates, and stay tuned to the channel. Thank you and goodbye.